This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Obama's True Legacy, How He Transformed America. There's a reason why Mike Huckabee calls it a ferocious and chilling read. Order it now at Amazon.com or at FrontPageMag.com.
Hello, and welcome to another Daniel Greenfield moment on the Glazov Gang. Now, following the news, the situation, the fighting in Israel against Hamas, and the talk of a deal, is there going to be, there's not going to be a deal. Hamas considers a deal to release hostages, doesn't consider it a deal. Why is Hamas delaying so long considering it's losing so badly? Well, is Hamas really losing? That's the question. Because the reality is Hamas is actually winning. Now, it's winning the way terrorists usually win. Terrorists lose the war militarily. They lose the war on the ground, but they win the political war. And what's the secret? Why is Hamas winning the political war? Well, part of the answer can be found in the Freedom Center's latest report, Election Jihad, which chronicles the election jihad, the Islamist takeover of political offices across the country. This is beyond the squad, it's beyond Tlaib or Omar. This is what is happening at the state level. Now, you've heard a lot about Michigan. We have a special section on Michigan in the Election Jihad report, which breaks down by particular areas. And one of the people here is Representative Ayash, who is also playing a key role at the legislative level in Michigan. We also cover multiple other states. We've got Ohio, we've got Texas, we've got Georgia. You've got Minnesota, obviously, but we also have places across the country, around the country, where the election jihad is playing more and more of a major role. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We cover in the election jihad, we cover how CAIR set out to mobilize over 1 million Islamic voters, how their election efforts, other Islamist election efforts are getting funding from groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, from the mainstream Democratic Party and its political allies, and how they are changing state legislatures locally. For example, in Georgia, 10% of the Georgia State Senate delegation is now Islamic, even though Muslims are only 1% of the population in Georgia. And yes, they are 1% of the population, which should be a wake-up call in and of itself. The election jihad is a look at just how American politics is being transformed at the ground level, because by the time it gets to Congress, by the time you're paying attention to it, these people have already been embedded in local offices. Whether it's Omar, whether it's Tlaib, whether it's any of these, they started out in local offices. And the effect now is massive. And it's happening in very blue states, but it's also happening in red states. I mentioned Georgia, I mentioned Texas. This is something that is a very worrisome and a very troubling phenomenon. And that is why the David Horowitz Freedom Center put out Election Jihad. It's why we are taking this very seriously. And we are casting light on an issue really that nobody has really talked about, that most people are not even aware of. When you hear names like Representative Ismail Mohammed, Representative Munir Abdullahi in Ohio, are those names you've heard of? Representative Nabil Saeed, Representative Abdel Nasir Asid in Illinois, and Ayash, who is controlling the ability to bring bills into the legislative house in Michigan. But what about Representative Ruma Roman, who was the first Palestinian, quote unquote, Muslim elected in Georgia? These people are moving forward, and you're going to hear about them in 2 or 4 years in the United States Congress. But you're hearing about them, you're getting a warning now in election jihad, how Islamists are taking over America's political system. And when you understand that, you understand obviously what is happening with Hamas, how Hamas supporters have been able to completely hijack the American political system in order to intimidate the United States into pressuring Israel to save Hamas, because every effort has been made into doing that. And that is why President Biden is now pressuring Israel and trying to protect Hamas because of pressure from election jihadists in local offices. But beyond that, it's not just about Israel. It is about the rest of the world. It is also about America. Some of these people in elected offices have targeted Hindus. For example, in California, they have targeted Christians in general, and they have, of course, targeted the United States. What that means is when Islamic terrorists attack the United States, the terrorists are going to have allies in every single state legislative office, in state houses, and in state senates. This is an urgent political threat, and it is absolutely getting worse. That is why it is really important to take a look at the election jihad and to focus on what is going on in your state offices, in your communities, in cities, in neighborhoods, in state legislative offices, because America is being fundamentally transformed. The process that Obama began is rippling through our entire political system. And as the demographic change takes hold, so does the impact of the election jihad. Thank you for listening. This has been a Greenfield moment for the Glazov Gang.